Imagine a teenager so dangerous to the Nazi regime that Adolf Hitler himself placed a bounty on his head, making him one of the most wanted individuals in all of occupied Europe. This isn't the story of a trained soldier or an experienced spy, but of an ordinary young man who became an extraordinary symbol of resistance, courage and defiance against one of history's most brutal dictatorships. His name was Helmuth Hübener, and at just 16 years old, he orchestrated one of the most daring and effective resistance operations of World War II, using nothing more than a radio, a typewriter, and an unbreakable spirit that would inspire generations. This is the untold story of how a boy became Hitler's nightmare, proving that sometimes the greatest heroes come in the most unexpected packages, and that age is no barrier to changing the course of history. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel right now for more incredible true stories that will leave you amazed at the power of human courage and determination. Helmuth Hübener was born in Hamburg, Germany in 1925 into a world that was rapidly descending into darkness. As a young boy, he witnessed the rise of the Nazi Party and the systematic transformation of his beloved Germany into a totalitarian state where free thought was criminalized and dissent was punishable by death. Unlike many of his peers who were swept up in Nazi propaganda or simply chose to remain silent, Helmuth possessed an extraordinary moral clarity that allowed him to see through the lies and recognize the evil that was consuming his nation. His family background played a crucial role in shaping his worldview. His mother had converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Mormon emphasis on individual conscience and moral responsibility deeply influenced young Helmuth's character. While his classmates enthusiastically participated in Hitler Youth activities, Helmuth began to question everything he was being taught, setting the stage for what would become one of the most remarkable acts of teenage rebellion in history. The turning point in Helmuth's life came in 1941 when he gained access to a shortwave radio that could receive foreign broadcasts, particularly from the BBC in London. In Nazi Germany, listening to foreign radio stations was strictly forbidden and punishable by imprisonment or death, but Helmuth was willing to take this risk because he understood that the German media was nothing more than a propaganda machine. Night after night, he would secretly tune in to BBC broadcasts, carefully listening to reports about the true progress of the war, the reality of German military losses, and the horrific details of Nazi atrocities that were being hidden from the German people. What he heard shocked and horrified him, but it also filled him with a burning desire to share this truth with his fellow Germans who were living in a bubble of lies and misinformation. This realization would transform him from a curious teenager into one of the most effective resistance fighters of the entire war. With remarkable ingenuity and courage, Helmuth began creating and distributing anti-Nazi leaflets that contained information from BBC broadcasts, exposing the lies of Nazi propaganda and revealing the true state of the war. Using a typewriter and carbon paper, he would painstakingly create multiple copies of his leaflets, which he titled with provocative headlines like "Down with Hitler" and "The Truth About the War." The content of these leaflets was incredibly dangerous. They contained detailed information about German military defeats, the reality of concentration camps, and direct challenges to Nazi ideology that could have resulted in immediate execution if discovered. Helmuth's leaflets were masterfully crafted pieces of psychological warfare, designed not just to inform, but to inspire doubt and resistance among their readers. He strategically distributed these leaflets in public places throughout Hamburg, including telephone booths, apartment buildings, and busy streets, always taking enormous personal risks to ensure that his message reached as many people as possible. As Helmuth's resistance activities intensified, he recruited two close friends, Karl-Heinz Schnibber and Rudi Wöber, to help him in his dangerous mission. Together, this small group of teenagers created what became known as the Helmuth Hübener Group, one of the youngest and most effective resistance cells in Nazi Germany. The three friends developed sophisticated methods for creating and distributing their anti-Nazi materials, including a complex system of coded communications and carefully planned distribution routes that helped them avoid detection by the Gestapo. Helmuth, as the leader of the group, took the greatest risks, often venturing into the most dangerous areas of Hamburg to distribute leaflets and gather intelligence. Their youth was both their greatest vulnerability and their greatest asset. While they lacked the experience and resources of adult resistance fighters, their age allowed them to move through the city with less suspicion and gave them access to information and locations that might have been denied to adults. The Nazi authorities quickly recognized that the Helmuth Hübener Group represented a serious threat to their control over Hamburg. The Gestapo launched an intensive investigation to identify and capture the individuals responsible for the anti-Nazi leaflets that were spreading throughout the city like wildfire. The quality and accuracy of the information in Helmuth's leaflets made it clear to Nazi officials that they were dealing with someone who had access to foreign radio broadcasts and possessed sophisticated knowledge of propaganda techniques. As the investigation intensified, the net began to close around Helmuth and his friends, but the teenager continued his resistance activities with even greater determination. The Gestapo employed increasingly desperate measures to catch the group, including surveillance operations, informant networks, and even torture of suspected sympathizers. His courage during this period was nothing short of extraordinary, as he knowingly risked everything to continue fighting for what he believed was right. On February 5, 1942, Helmuth's luck finally ran out when he was arrested by the Gestapo while attempting to distribute leaflets at his workplace. The arrest was the result of a betrayal by someone who had discovered his activities and reported him to the authorities, demonstrating the constant danger that resistance fighters faced from informants and collaborators. Despite being subjected to intense interrogation and torture, Helmuth refused to reveal the identities of his co-conspirators or provide information about his methods and sources. His courage under torture was remarkable, as he endured weeks of brutal treatment while protecting his friends and maintaining his commitment to the resistance cause. The Gestapo was astounded by the teenager's resolve and his refusal to break under pressure, with some officers later admitting that they had never encountered such determination in someone so young. The fact that such a young person had been able to cause so much trouble for the Nazi regime was both embarrassing and terrifying to officials who prided themselves on their control over the German population. The trial of Helmuth Hübener became a sensation throughout Nazi Germany, as the regime struggled to explain how a teenager had managed to create such an effective resistance operation. The Nazi propaganda machine attempted to portray Helmuth as a deluded child who had been manipulated by foreign agents, but the evidence presented at trial made it clear that he had acted independently. Helmuth's behavior during the trial was nothing short of heroic. He used every opportunity to speak out against Nazi ideology and to defend his actions as morally justified resistance to tyranny. His eloquent speeches from the dock inspired many observers and demonstrated a level of political sophistication and moral courage that was extraordinary for someone his age. Despite the obvious predetermined nature of the trial's outcome, Helmuth never wavered in his convictions or showed any regret for his actions, maintaining his dignity and principles even in the face of certain death. On August 11, 1942, Helmuth Hübener was executed by guillotine at Plötzensee prison in Berlin, becoming the youngest person executed for resistance activities during World War II. He was just 17 years old when he died, but his impact on the Nazi regime and his influence on the resistance movement far exceeded what anyone could have expected from someone so young. In his final letter to his family, Helmuth wrote with remarkable maturity and peace, expressing no regret for his actions and encouraging others to continue fighting for truth and justice. His execution was intended by the Nazis to serve as a warning to other potential resistance fighters, but instead it created a martyr whose story would inspire countless others to take action against the regime. His death transformed him from a local resistance fighter into a symbol of youth courage and moral conviction that would inspire resistance movements throughout Europe and beyond. The legacy of Helmuth Hübener extends far beyond his brief but extraordinary life, serving as an enduring example of how individual courage and moral conviction can challenge even the most powerful and brutal regimes. His story has inspired countless books, films, and documentaries that have introduced new generations to his remarkable example of teenage heroism and resistance. In post-war Germany, Helmuth became recognized as one of the most important resistance figures of the Nazi era, with streets, schools, and memorials named in his honor throughout the country. His methods of using radio broadcasts and leaflet distribution to spread truth and counter propaganda have been studied by resistance movements and human rights activists around the world. His example continues to inspire young activists and resistance fighters in countries around the world where freedom and human rights are under threat, proving that the spirit of resistance he embodied transcends time and geography. Perhaps most remarkably, Helmuth's story demonstrates that ordinary people, even teenagers, have the power to make extraordinary differences in the world when they are willing to stand up for their principles and take action against injustice. His transformation from a curious teenager listening to foreign radio broadcasts to Hitler's most wanted young resistance fighter shows how individual moral courage can grow into movements that challenge the most powerful forces of oppression and evil. Helmuth Hübener proved that age, experience, and resources are less important than courage, conviction, and the willingness to act on one's principles, no matter the cost. His story reminds us that heroes come in all ages and that sometimes the most powerful resistance to evil comes from the most unexpected sources. The teenager who became Hitler's most wanted remains an eternal symbol of the power of individual conscience and the extraordinary impact that one person can have when they refuse to remain silent in the face of injustice. If this incredible story of teenage heroism and resistance has moved you as much as it has moved us, please make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. What aspect of Helmuth Hübener's courage impressed you the most? Do you think you would have had the bravery to take such risks at his age? We'd love to hear your perspective on this remarkable tale of moral courage and resistance. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories of ordinary people who did extraordinary things in the face of overwhelming odds. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode, because we're committed to bringing you the most inspiring and amazing stories of human courage, sacrifice, and determination that deserve to be remembered and celebrated. Join us as we continue to uncover the hidden heroes and forgotten champions who changed the world through their incredible acts of bravery and conviction.